Really, like, now that this program is over, what are your reflections? What would you like to share out to anyone as we are at this sort of milestone, but hoping that the journey continues?
Got it.
Tamiko, do you want to start, or?
Reflections is that I think that the Taiko community has a lot to say and a lot to learn from each other, and being able to have a safe space to share with others and learn from others is really important. And also helping to empower each other so that they can then go out into their community. I think it's a great place to start. You know, it has to start from the individual, and then at least within the Taiko community, hopefully people can bring back to their groups and have similar discussions, and then to their families, and it would continue to hopefully grow.
Yeah, I think one of the big overarching takeaways I'm starting to really reflect on, and this comes out often. I think it deals with performing arts as well, but one, like, across all of these discussion groups, including, you know, Orientalism and Taiko, I shouldn't say all, but many of them, therefore, like, it is exceedingly difficult to talk about much of this, and people get, including us, or myself at least I can say, can get very uncomfortable talking about it, but it's nonetheless important to recognize that discomfort and you know, accept that as part of, you know, part of recognizing certain issues, and also how to constructively build and grow. And so, and part of that, I mean, part of me is also wondering, like, well, what is it about the discomfort itself? How does that come into play? And it depends in certain ways. For Orientalism, at least, I was considering it or reflecting upon it in terms of, like, well, you know, people will inevitably reflect upon their identities, their backgrounds, particularly ethnicity and race. And also it deals also, I think, to an extent too, with, you know, one's their individuality, and how that expands out to a greater issue, and the bigger issue. Well, you know, like, I personally, for instance, I personally don't feel I'm being Orientalist, and how can that be if I can only do what I can in the place that I am in, and I know what I know, and I have these hopes and dreams nonetheless with, say, Taiko. So what's wrong with knowledge? And it's again, you know, on a certain level too, like, I understand it, that's certainly understandable, but then again, of course, there is that level of discomfort when we come into these larger pictures, these larger truths that are, again, that undercurrent or the fabric upon which a lot of this rests, and seeing that exposed.
And how about you?
I'm having a hard time with the reflection part, because no, you guys weren't in our breakout groups, but Deborah and Linda were saying that, like, the discussions were great, but they were left with the feeling like they didn't do a good job facilitating, because they didn't, like, get to their goal, you know, like where they wanted to get to, but they were just enjoying the discussions and the stories that people were sharing. And so I'm feeling a little bit of that, like, I didn't do a great facilitation, didn't do a great job facilitating. For Tamiko, what you said, like, empower, like, I was just thinking, like, I wonder if I could have left the third session better empowering them to go out and take some chances and risks. And I don't know if I did that. So I'm feeling a little about that. As far as my reflections on the whole thing, like everybody else, it's like, it's just the drop in a huge ocean. And part of it, I feel two conflicting things. One is, like, it's just so big and overwhelming at sometimes. And the other part of me, who has personally been doing activism, makes mainly because of my own personal experiential, my experience of who I am and how I identify, and my experience in life and traumas. And then being in raw, there's a sense in me of being really impatient too. I'm like, come on, Taiko Community, let's go. No, I want you to skip like 15 steps and like, let's all be like over here and then start. But I also realize, like, you know, like, so when people have to enter into activism in very different places and for very different reasons, like I had very specific reasons how I entered into it. It was almost like a necessity for me, right? As survival, and how do I help to make the world work better for me than me having to always slot into the world that exists. So that's not a reflection. I just went blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's stop recording.
Oh, okay, I'll stop it. All right.